Here's part 2 of our dividing fractions lesson. Before we continue, I want to touch on our math practices. We are going to make sense of problems and persevere whether or not we find them challenging. We're going to construct arguments and critique the reasoning of others because we're going to do some inquiry and try some more challenging fractions out. And you're also going to model with math with either a bar graph, the Play-Doh in the inquiry lab, that'll be in the independent station, or if you want to use the algorithm. All right. So I'm moving on to my notes that look like this. So another term for the multiplicative inverse, which we noticed on our earlier page, is that's going to be called the reciprocal. To find the reciprocal, we're going to use this word more often. I'm not going to say in lessons, and we are not going to speak casually and say, oh, the flip fraction. No, we need to actually practice speaking this word correctly if we want to be academically correct and scholarly. To find the reciprocal of a number, you need to write the number as a fraction, because that is what we are doing. We're dividing fractions. For example, I'm going to use a new color. And if I have a fraction, I have 5 over 6. Is this already a fraction? Yes, it is. So then I'm ready. If I have just the number 3, I'm not ready. I need to change this to a fraction. In this case, this would be 3 over 1, because that is a whole number. So I first need to write the number as a fraction. For these two examples, I did that. Then I'm going to move on. Then I'm going to invert the numerator and the denominator. Gentle reminder, numerator is the number on top, and the denominator is the number on the bottom. Gentle reminder, you guys already knew that. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to change 5 over 6. I'm going to invert it. It is now going to be 6 over 5. I'm going to invert 3 over 1, which is now going to be 1 over 3. You with me so far? So we have our inverted fractions, which are now the reciprocals. Because any number times its reciprocal is, I'm going to write this over here because I kind of made a mess. It's going to be 1. If I multiplied 3 over 1 times 1/3, the answer would be 1. If I multiplied 5 over 6 times 6 over 5, the answer would be 1. So we're going to find the reciprocal of each number below. So first let's check. Did they write this one as a fraction? Yes, they did. So now I'm going to invert the numerator and the denominator. In this case, it's now no longer going to be 1 over 4. I'm going to flip it, and it's now going to be 4 over 1. 1 times 4 is 4. I'm actually going to go to the left. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 over 4 simplified is still 1. This works. All right, let's try the next one. 2 over 5 times its reciprocal, I need to invert it, is now going to be 5 over 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 over 10 simplified is 1. That checks out. 8 over 9 times its reciprocal equals 1. So if I invert 8 over 9, it'll now be 9 over 8. You're getting the idea? Oh, and here's a whole number again. So this I need to change to a fraction. This is now going to be 7 over 1. If I change it to its reciprocal, now it is 1 over 7. 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 over 7 simplified is 1. We are in good shape. If you need to watch this again, go ahead and pause the video and start back from the beginning about 4 minutes earlier and keep watching until you feel confident. If you're ready to move on, follow along with me. To divide fractions, we need to change the operation to multiplication. Then you multiply the dividend. I want you to highlight this word. The dividend is the number you start with. Go ahead and add that in your notes too. Number you start. I'm going to add the division sign. You start the division with. That's your dividend, because your divisor does all the work. But you multiply the dividend, the first number, by the reciprocal. And then there's the other word, there is the divisor. This number is doing all the work. This is how many groups we're breaking that up into. How many of these groups fit in the dividend, the number we started with. So, one trick, I don't like using the word trick in math because all of these processes happen from a natural place and they have a rhyme and reason, but I would say to save yourself the temptation of reading your notes religiously and bashing your head against the wall trying to figure this out, here is a shortened way to remember. We keep the first fraction the same, that is the dividend. We keep that one the same. You keep, then you change the division sign. It's going to have a division sign. Sorry, mine's a little sloppy, but we'll make it, there we go, a little better. To multiplication. It could be the X or it could be the dot representing multiplication. You're going to keep, then you're going to change. Keep, change. And then the very last portion, we've been saying invert, we've been saying change, so I am going to cross out change and I'm going to say either create a new one in your head to say keep, change, flip, or keep, change, invert. Keep, change, flip is a nice, quick, easy to remember mnemonic device, I would say, but as long as you know to follow these correct steps in this order, you should be fine. You're going to flip or invert the second fraction to its reciprocal. And then you multiply as normal. So let me show you. Here's the first one. I have my dividend. That's this number, the number I start with. Notice I'm highlighting my dividend orange so it matches all the parts in my notes to help me remember later. Oh, I keep this the same. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to rewrite it so I have more room to work. But I'm going to keep it the same. Now I'm going to change division to multiplication. So I'm going to highlight that. There's my division sign. I do not want that anymore. I'm going to change that to multiplication. And then last but not least, I'm going to flip. Keep, change, flip. So here, keep. I did the keep. I did the change. And now I'm going to flip 2/3 to its reciprocal. If I flip it or invert it, it's going to be 3/2. Now I have my new problem where now I can solve and find the answer to this division problem because now it's turned to multiplication. So just multiply right across. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. I cannot simplify further. That is my answer. So if I asked you 1/2 divided by 2/3, the answer is 3/4. There we go. Let's try one more before you move on to independent practice. I have 3/7 divided by 3/8. So following my steps, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to change, and I'm going to flip. So I'm going to use these colors to remind me. Keep, change, flip, or invert. Either way, they mean the same thing. I'm flipping the fraction around. So keep, change, and flip. So no longer will it be 3/8. Now I'm going to have 8/3. And now I just multiply across. 3 times 8 is 24. 7 times 3 is... Oh, that's not right. 1, 2 times 8. No, that's right. And then 7 times 3 is 21. Oh, I caught myself. I was thinking, this can't be right, but actually it is. I'm going to need to simplify this. How many times does 21 go into 24? It would go in, I'm going to simplify downwards, 1 whole time with 3 pieces left over, and the denominator stays the same. So you could say 24/21, which is right. But the more accurate answer would be 1 and 3/21 or 21ths. That's very challenging to say. So I would just probably say this answer because it is the most accurate. All right. Now, if you have any other questions, go ahead and watch this video back, and you can ask Miss Madera as she is circulating the room as you're working on guided or independent practice.